Welcome back to the podcast. Today, we explore the fascinating world of our bodies and minds. Today, we're diving deep into something we all do, or at least should do: sleep.
And Tara, we're starting with some rather eye-opening, or perhaps eye-closing news. Let's talk about testicles.
Oh, Neil, right out of the gate.
Men who sleep 5 hours a night have significantly smaller testicles compared to those who sleep 7 hours or more. And not just that, men consistently sleeping 4 to 5 hours a night have testosterone levels equivalent to someone 10 years older. So lack of sleep can age a man by a decade in that fundamental aspect of health.
And it's not just men. We see similar reproductive health disruptions in females due to insufficient sleep.
And believe it or not, that's probably the best news we have for you today. From here, it might get worse. We're not just covering the good things that happen when you sleep, but the alarming things that happen to your brain and body when you don't get enough.
Let's start with the brain, specifically learning and memory. For years, we knew you needed sleep after learning to hit the save button on new memories.
But what has recently been discovered is that you also need sleep before learning. It's like preparing your brain, making it a dry sponge ready to absorb new information. Without sleep, the memory pathways in your brain become waterlogged, unable to take in new facts.
It was seen in a study where they tested the idea that pulling an all-nighter is a good idea. We had two groups: a sleep group getting a full 8 hours and a sleep deprivation group, kept awake in the lab under full supervision, no naps, no caffeine.
The next day, both groups were put into an MRI scanner and tried to learn a new list of information while snapshots were taken of their brain activity. Then it was tested how effectively they learned. What was found was a significant 40% deficit in the brain's ability to make new memories without sleep.
That's a staggering difference. Imagine that in an educational setting. It's the difference between excelling and failing an exam.
They looked at what was going wrong inside the brain. There's a structure called the hippocampus, located on both sides of your brain. Think of it as your brain's information inbox, excellent at receiving new memory files. In those who got a full night's sleep, we saw plenty of healthy learning activity in the hippocampus.
But in the sleep-deprived group, there was virtually no significant signal at all. It was as if sleep deprivation had shut down their information inbox. Any new incoming files were just bounced back. You simply couldn't effectively get new experiences into the memory.
Now let's go back to that sleep group for a moment. We can ask a different question. What about the quality of your physiological sleep that restores and enhances your memory and learning ability every day?
By placing electrodes all over the head, they discovered powerful brain waves during the deepest stages of sleep. Riding on the back of these waves are bursts of electrical activity called sleep spindles. It's this combined quality of deep sleep brainwaves that acts like a nocturnal file transfer mechanism.
It moves information from a vulnerable, short-term storage site to a more permanent, long-term location within the brain, thus protecting and making that information safe. Understanding this is crucial because it has real medical and societal implications.
One area where this work has moved clinically is aging and dementia. It's no secret that as we age, our learning and memory abilities decline. But we've also found that a physiological hallmark of aging is that sleep gets worse, especially that deep sleep we just discussed.
Last year, we published evidence suggesting these two things aren't just co-occurring, but are significantly interrelated. The absence of deep sleep appears to be an unrecognized factor contributing to cognitive decline, memory deterioration in aging, and more recently in Alzheimer's disease.
This sounds incredibly disheartening, but there's a positive side. Unlike many factors associated with aging, like changes in the brain's physical structure, sleep is something we might be able to do something about.
In the sleep center, they were not using sleeping pills, which are unfortunately ineffective at producing deep sleep. Instead, they were developing a new method called electrical brain stimulation. They introduce a small amount of electrical voltage into the brain, so small you usually don't feel it, but it has a measurable impact.
If you apply this stimulation during sleep in healthy adults, timed with those deep sleep brain waves, you can not only amplify the size of those waves, but by doing so, you can almost double the amount of memory benefit you get from sleep.
The question now is whether we can translate this same inexpensive, portable technology to older adults and those with mental illness. Can we restore some of that healthy deep sleep quality? And in doing so, can we rescue aspects of learning and memory function? That's the real hope right now.
So that's an example of sleep's impact on your brain. But sleep is also vital for your body. We've already touched on sleep loss and the reproductive system.
We could also talk about sleep loss and the cardiovascular system, specifically the impact of just 1 hour of sleep loss. There's a global experiment conducted on 1.6 billion people across 70 countries twice a year, daylight saving time.
In the spring, when we lose an hour of sleep, we see a 24% increase in heart attacks the following day. In the autumn, when we gain an hour of sleep, we see a 21% decrease in heart attacks. It's astonishing.
We see similar patterns for car crashes, traffic accidents, and even suicide rates. But let's dive deeper into sleep loss and your immune system.
Imagine these beautiful blue cells as the secret service agents of your immune system. They're called natural killer cells, and they're excellent at identifying and eliminating dangerous, unwanted elements, like destroying a cancerous tumor.
You want a robust army of these killers at all times, and that's not what you get when you don't sleep enough. In one experiment, people weren't deprived of sleep for a whole night, but simply had their sleep restricted to 4 hours for one night.
The result was a 70% reduction in natural killer cell activity. That's a serious state of immune deficiency.
And perhaps you can now understand why we're finding significant links between short sleep duration and your risk of developing numerous forms of cancer. Currently, the list includes bowel cancer, prostate cancer, and breast cancer.
In fact, the link between sleep loss and cancer is so strong that the World Health Organization has classified any form of night shift work as a probable carcinogen due to the disruption of sleep-wake rhythms.
You might have heard the old saying, you can sleep when you're dead. Well, I'm serious now. It's a fatal and unwise piece of advice. We know this from epidemiological studies across millions of individuals. The simple truth is, the shorter your sleep, the shorter your life. Sleep loss predicts all causes of mortality.
And if an increased risk of cancer or even Alzheimer's isn't concerning enough, they have discovered that sleep loss will even diminish the very biological fabric of life itself, your DNA genetic code.
In one study, healthy adults had their sleep restricted to 6 hours a night for just 1 week. Researchers then measured the change in gene activity compared to when those same individuals got a full 8 hours of sleep.
There were two key findings. First, the activity of hundreds of significant genes was altered by a lack of sleep. Half of these genes had their activity increased, and the other half had their activity decreased.
The genes that were deactivated by sleep loss were those associated with the immune system, again highlighting immune deficiency. Conversely, the genes that were upregulated or increased by sleep loss were those linked to tumor development, chronic long-term inflammation within the body, and genes associated with stress, and as a result, cardiovascular disease.
Simply put, there is no aspect of your health that can escape unscathed when sleep loss appears. It's like a broken water pipe in your home. Sleep loss will seep into every corner and crevice of your physiology, even reaching the nuclear alphabet of your DNA that tells the story of your daily health.
So at this point, you might be wondering, my goodness, how can I improve my sleep? What are your tips for good sleep?
Besides avoiding the detrimental effects of alcohol and caffeine on sleep, and if you struggle to sleep at night, avoiding naps during the day, we have two main pieces of advice.
The first is regularity. Go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time, whether it's a weekday or a weekend. Regularity is king. It will anchor your sleep and improve the quantity and quality of that sleep.
The second tip is to keep it cool. Your body needs to drop its core temperature by about 1 degree Celsius to initiate and stay asleep. That's why you'll always find it easier to fall asleep in a room that's too cold rather than too hot. So aim for a room temperature of around 65 degrees Fahrenheit or about 18 degrees Celsius. That will be ideal for sleep for most people.
If we pause and think about the big idea here, I believe it's this. Sleep, unfortunately, is not an optional luxury. Sleep is a non negotiable biological necessity. It is your life support system, and it is Mother Nature's best effort yet at immortality.
The epidemic of sleep loss in all industrialized nations is having a catastrophic impact on our health and wellness, even on the safety and education of our children. It has become one of the greatest public health challenges we face in the 21st century.
I think it's time that we reclaim our right to a full night of sleep without embarrassment or that unfortunate stigma of laziness. By doing so, we can unite with the most powerful elixir of longevity, the Swiss Army knife of health.
So, good night, good luck, and most importantly, we hope you all sleep well.
Thank you. Now, we have a question that often comes up. Since we can't catch up on lost sleep, what should we do? What if we're tossing and turning at night or working shifts?
That's right, you can't bank sleep. Sleep isn't like a debt you can accumulate and then hope to pay off at a later date.
And the reason this is so catastrophic and why our health deteriorates so quickly is because humans are the only species that deliberately deprive themselves of sleep without any clear reason. Mother Nature, through evolution, never had to face this threat of sleep deprivation. So, she never developed a safety net. That's why if you don't sleep enough, things just fall apart in both your brain and body. You simply have to prioritize it.
But if I'm tossing and turning, what should I do?
If you're lying awake for a long time, you need to get out of bed and go to another room and do something different. The reason is that your brain will quickly associate your bedroom with being awake, and you need to break that association. Only return to bed when you feel sleepy. That way, you'll reform the association that your bed is a place of sleep.
So the comparison is you would never sit at the dinner table waiting to get hungry. So why would you lie in bed waiting to get sleepy?
Exactly.
Excellent advice. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
And remember, prioritize your sleep